Your $30 an hour job might secretly be paying you closer to $4 an hour for your actual life. Think about yesterday. You woke up earlier than you wanted to, you rushed through breakfast, grabbed coffee on the go, sat in traffic or on a crowded bus, worked all day, came home exhausted, ordered food because you were too tired to cook, scrolled your phone just to numb out, and then collapsed into bed, only to do it all again today. None of that extra time was paid, but all of it was spent so you could keep that $30 an hour job. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Your salary is not your wage. Your real hourly wage is everything that's left after taxes, commute, work costs, and the stress spending you use to recover. When you run the real numbers, that solid job starts to look like a workplace scam. Let's start with the basic illusion. Most people hear $30 an hour and do the simplest math. $30 times 40 hours a week is $1,200. Times 52 weeks is $62,400 a year. That sounds pretty good. On paper, you're in the decent job category. But that's the first layer of the lie, because nobody ever tells you to subtract everything your job quietly takes from you just to keep you working. So let's break this down like you're running a business and the business is your life. If a business owner said, "I pay my employees $30 an hour," but then made them work extra hours for free, charged them for using the building, and took a cut every time they showed up, you'd say, that's predatory. But that's exactly what most 9-to-5 jobs are doing once you see the full picture. First, there's the obvious villain, commuting. The average worker spends hundreds of hours a year just getting to and from work. 1 hour a day, 5 days a week, for 50 weeks is around 250 hours of your life spent just traveling to your job. You don't get paid for those hours, but your life still pays the price. Now add the direct money cost of that commute, between fuel, maintenance, tolls, parking, or transit passes. Many workers are dropping thousands of dollars a year just to show up. In a lot of cases, that lands somewhere around $8,000 to $12,000 a year gone, silently siphoned off by your car, the road, and your boss's decision that you need to be in a building instead of at home. And this is just the beginning, because commuting doesn't just cost money, it explodes your time. If your round-trip commute is an hour a day, that's 5 extra hours a week gone. Bump that to 90 minutes, and you're at 7.5 hours a week, close to 375 hours a year. That's like working an extra month or two for free. Now imagine you're paid $30 per hour on paper. If you add just 5 unpaid commute hours to your 40 paid hours, you're actually giving 45 hours of your life each week to earn that paycheck. Suddenly, your $30 an hour drops to about $26.66 per real hour of life. That's before any money costs, before taxes, and before all the other hidden time. And that's the tame version. Most people don't count getting ready time, decompressing after work, unpaid overtime, work events, mandatory training, or the emotional recovery time where you're too drained to do anything productive. Once you include all of that, the gap becomes dramatic. Let's paint a realistic picture. You think you work 40 hours a week. In reality, your job might look like this: 40 hours at work, 5 to 10 hours commuting, 2 to 3 hours per week getting ready specifically for work, 2 to 3 hours decompression time where your brain is fried, a couple of extra unpaid overtime hours or quick tasks at home. Suddenly, your 40-hour job is more like 50 to 55 hours of your life every single week. Plenty of people who sit down and calculate this find they're actually spending over 52 hours a week on job-related time, not 40. Now apply that to a $30 rate. If your annual salary is roughly $62,400 and you're actually spending 52 hours a week on work, your real hourly wage drops into the teens instead of 30. That's what happens when you divide your real take-home pay by real hours, not just the hours on your contract. And we still haven't subtracted the money your job forces you to spend. Start listing work expenses and the bill gets ugly. Commute, gas, transit, parking, wear and tear. Work clothes, shoes, dry cleaning, grooming to look professional. Lunches, snacks, coffee because you're away from your own kitchen. Convenience spending, takeout, delivery, quick buys because you're exhausted. Health costs from stress, bad sleep, and sitting all day. When you add those up honestly, It's very common to lose 5 figures a year purely to the privilege of being able to show up at work. Take a $65,000 job. After taxes and realistic work-related costs, people often discover their effective hourly rate has crashed from the low 30s to something like $14 an hour. That's more than half gone. And that's not a fringe case. That's normal. This is why the idea of true hourly wage exists. Your official wage can be 50 to 70% higher than what you're actually earning in terms of life per hour. You see the advertised sticker price. The discounted reality is what hits your life. Now let's look at a simple formula you can use. Take your annual salary, subtract taxes, subtract all work costs. Then divide by every hour your job takes from your life, not just the 9 to 5. In other words, real hourly wage equals annual salary minus taxes minus work-related expenses divided by paid work hours plus all unpaid work hours. This is the number that matters. This is the number that tells you what you actually earn for each hour of your actual life, not each hour your boss pretends to pay you for. Now let's bring this home with a concrete example. Imagine Job A and Job B both come across your desk. Job A, salary, $65,000 a year. Commute, 1 hour round trip, 5 days a week. Standard office, some unpaid, staying late, normal work expenses. Job B, salary, $55,000 a year. Commute, 10 minutes each way, or maybe remote 3 days a week. Less pressure to dress up, fewer social events, more control. Everyone's gut reaction is to say, obviously take Job A, it's $10,000 more. But let's run the real hourly math. First, commuting. That 1 hour daily commute for Job A is roughly 250 hours a year just sitting in traffic. Job B might only cost you a tiny fraction of that. Next, work-related spending. Job A, in a demanding office environment, might easily chew up $8,000 to $10,000 per year in commuting costs, clothing, eating out, and other job-driven expenses. Job B, with a shorter commute or partial remote work, could cut that by thousands. Now factor in taxes and your actual hours. Once you subtract taxes and those job-related expenses, then divide by your real weekly time, you might find Job A's flashy salary gives you something like $20 per real hour, while Job B quietly lands closer to $24 per real hour, even though the annual salary is smaller. This isn't hypothetical. People who compare offers like this often discover that a lower-paying job near home or with remote flexibility can actually pay them more per hour of their life than a higher-paying job with a soul-crushing commute. Here's the mindbender. Some promotions are actually pay cuts when you factor in your real hourly wage. If your promotion brings a salary bump but also adds more hours, extra responsibilities, longer commute, and more stress spending, your real hourly rate can go down. You earn more money but less per hour of your life. Now let's go even darker, because the real scam is not just the present, it's the future you're giving up. Think of every dollar you burn on commuting as a dollar that never gets the chance to work for you. If you burn $10,000 a year on commute and work costs that you could have avoided, and instead you invested that for 30 to 35 years at a reasonable return that could grow into roughly $1.4 million, that's an entire retirement lost to traffic lights and brake lights. You're not just paying to go to work, you're paying with your future freedom. So let's circle back to the title. How does a $30 an hour job become a $4 an hour scam? It happens when you stop thinking like an employee and start thinking like an analyst. Take that $30 per hour and run it through reality. Deduct taxes. Maybe that drops you down into the low 20s in take-home pay. Deduct $8,000 to $10,000 a year in commuting and work-related expenses. Deduct stress spending like takeout, convenience buys, I deserve this purchases. Add 10 to 15 unpaid hours a week for commute, prep, decompression, and extra tasks. Suddenly, your $62,400 salary shrinks. After taxes, after visible and invisible work costs, maybe you're left with something closer to $35,000 to $40,000 of true profit from your job. And when you divide that by the real hours your job consumes, 2,400, 2,500, maybe more, you're effectively earning in the teens per hour of life, not 30. Now add one more layer. What if your job is so draining that you never build skills, never pursue side projects, never start the business you dream of, never invest in yourself? What if that job steals not just your time today, but your ability to grow tomorrow? That's where the spiritual hourly wage drops into single digits. That's where your life gets traded at $4 an hour, not on paper, but in reality. The scam works because nobody teaches you to calculate this. Job offers are pitched in annual salary. Conversations are about how much you make. People flex their paychecks, not their real hourly rate. Imagine if every job posting had to show both. Salary, $65,000 a year. Estimated real hourly wage after commute, taxes, and work costs, $13.80 per hour. Suddenly, remote jobs, part-time roles with minimal commute, and lower-paying but closer jobs would look a lot more attractive. So what can you actually do with this information? First, calculate your own real hourly wage. Grab a notepad or open a spreadsheet and list your annual salary, your best estimate of taxes you actually pay, your annual commute costs, fuel, passes, parking, maintenance, your annual work-related costs, clothes, food, convenience spending, subscriptions you only have for work. Your weekly hours, paid work, commute, getting ready, decompressing, unpaid extras. Then plug it into the formula. Real hourly wage equals annual salary minus taxes minus work costs, divided by total work-related hours per year. Most people will be shocked by the number that comes out. You might realize your good job isn't much better per hour than something you would have turned your nose up at. Second, use this number in every career decision from now on. When you get a job offer, don't get hypnotized by the salary. Immediately estimate the real hourly wage. How long is the commute? How demanding is the culture? What's the dress code? Are you expected to answer emails at night? Do people actually leave at 5? Or is 7 p.m. normal? A job that pays $10,000 less but saves you 300 hours a year and $5,000 in costs might be a massive raise in real hourly terms. The pay cut job could actually make you richer per hour and give you your life back. Third, negotiate with this math in your back pocket. If a company wants you in the office 5 days a week with a long commute, that's a cost to you. You can push for remote days, commuting stipends, flexible hours, or other perks because the math supports you. More and more, people are waking up to the fact that time and commute are part of compensation. Fourth, remember that every dollar you don't burn on your job can work for you instead. That same $8,000 to $10,000 a year you might be wasting on commuting, if redirected into investments over a few decades, it can turn into hundreds of thousands or even over $1 million. That's not a motivational slogan. That's just compound interest doing its thing. By now, you might be thinking, okay, but what if I'm stuck? I can't just quit tomorrow. And that's fair. Not everyone can walk away from their job, and not everyone wants to. But you can still use this idea of real hourly wage as a compass. You can start trimming commute costs, carpool, move closer over time, negotiate hybrid days, cut work-driven spending, pack lunch, limit stress purchases, simplify your wardrobe. Protect your time. Set boundaries on after-hours communication where you can. Build toward a job with a higher real hourly wage, even if the salary is smaller on paper. Because at the end of the day, the only number that really matters is this: how much of your life are you trading? And what are you actually getting back for each hour you give away? If you're not tracking that, you are exactly the kind of person the workplace system is designed to exploit. The $30 an hour headline is there to keep you from noticing that once you subtract everything, your real life might be getting sold off at the price of a cheap fast food meal. So the next time someone asks, "How much do you make?" don't just repeat the number on your pay stub. Do the real math. Look them in the eye, at least in your head, and answer with the only number that matters, your real hourly wage. Because if you don't know that number, the workplace scam is working exactly as intended. If this changed how you see your job, share this with that one friend who's always exhausted from their commute, hit subscribe for more brutally honest money breakdowns, and drop a comment. After you factor in commute, work costs, and unpaid time, what's your real hourly wage?